Okay, you guys, now it's time to varnish the pieces. So you want to make sure that you seal up all your wood because it's susceptible to moisture and stuff like that. You don't want it warping over time or fading. And, you know, wood burning is, it can fade over time because, you know, your wood changes color, but also your burn can sort of fade or lighten over time. So you want to make sure you seal it with something that protects it from doing that. So the first thing I'm going to do is use this Danish oil. I like to use the Danish oil on these like more simple pieces, or I really like to use it on these basswood pieces because it really soaks it in heavy. And I put my gloves on, and I like to just use these little brush sponges. They're really inexpensive, and I can wash them and use them a bunch of times before I have to toss them. So we're just gonna get this guy opened. Not the easiest thing in the world to open. Oh, there we go. Okay. So I like to start with the back and work my way to the front. Now you want to make sure you set these on something that it's not going to stick to. So I've got just plain white craft paper here, and it's not going to stick to that. But if there's any sort of plastic or anything around, you want to make sure it's not left sitting on top of that. So you can see what I mean here. It really soaks it in there. So I have learned the hard way, if you leave this sitting on top of something that it might stick to, it's going to damage it. I'm just going to dab it on like this. Just give it a good coat. I like to use it on the edges too, really get it in there. These live edges are a little bit trickier. But again, that's why the sponge works well, because you can kind of just dab it on there. And you might want to give it a couple of coats. Like I said, you want to make sure this wood is good and protected. Make sure you read the directions and follow the drying times and all that. Every product's a little bit different. This Danish oil dries pretty quickly, so I'm just going to dab the edges really good. Kind of get it down in there. I really like the Danish oil too because it's not as harsh as some of the other chemicals you can use, like polyurethane and stuff. This is a little bit easier to work with. Okay. That one's good, so I'm just going to set it aside. I'm going to use the UV on this piece because I've got color on it. So for this little Chandler guy, this will be much easier. Oops, I got a tag on here. You don't want to varnish that to the wood. Take that off. Make sure it's clean too. You want to wipe down any of your pieces. Make sure there's no sawdust or carbon bits or anything like that on there. Just kind of, the pine is going to go much easier because those live edge rounds just really soak in the moisture. I'm going to use my paper towel here and give it a little wipe. See little bits on there. I usually varnish. The last thing I do every day is varnish, and then the next morning they're dry. And they're good to go for another coat, or they're done. Get some of these bits. Okay. So now he's good to go. I'm going to set him to the side. And let's put the top back on. All right. Now, for this one, I'm going to use a UV coat. I've got color in there. I want to make sure it doesn't fade over time. Again, I'm just giving it a little wipe. Kind of get any dust and bits and stuff like that off of it. I'm going to wipe this down too. Make sure I don't get any extra little stuff on it. Okay. This stuff is a little bit harsher. So this is the kind of stuff you want to make sure you're in a well-ventilated area. You're not sitting around breathing it in because it's pretty rough stuff. And you can coat this a few times. You want to make sure you're giving it a good coat. And I'll just do these like short sweeps back and forth. I don't oversaturate it because I don't want any sort of like wet drips and stuff like that. Plus, I know I'm going to give it 2 or 3 coats, so I know it's going to coat well. So I don't worry about getting it even. I just worry about making sure it doesn't get drips on it, because then you got to sand it down and all of that mess. So hit the sides. Now I'm giving it good varnish on the front. And there we go. See a little bit of a mark there and mark there. So clear those off. Okay. So all you need to do is let those dry. This has an hour drying time. I'm sorry, 2-hour drying time to handle, and you can give it a second coat. I usually do 3 coats of this and 2 coats of the Danish. And there you go. Then all you have to do is add your hanger on the back and you're good to go. Okay, everybody, it's time for the last piece of the puzzle, and that is adding the hanger to the back. So whenever you make a piece, if you're giving it to as a gift, or maybe you're selling it, or you just want to hang it up in the house, you want to make sure you've got a hanger on the back so that you can easily put it on the wall. So I've got 2 different ways to do that. I've got these little sawtooth hangers like this, and you can screw those in. Or I've got these D-rings. You put 2 of these on the back, and then you add a bit of wire. Now, I typically use the sawtooth option for smaller pieces, and I'll use the D-rings for bigger pieces. Or if I'm going to put something in an art show, they typically want you to have the wire set up on the back. They don't like the sawtooth hanger. So, and I buy both of these on Amazon in bulk, or you can get them anywhere online. So for this one, I just kind of measure out the center. I want to make sure that I get this in the center. It's 9.5. This is going to be a little trickier because it's way down here. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. Put my mark there. And then I line this up like this. And I've got my drill here. You can use, you don't have to have a power drill. Just makes it a little quicker. And, oops, I moved it. This one you want to try to be as close as center as possible, just because you don't want it to be crooked. And then I just put my screws in. Just like that. So, now I'll show you the D-ring method. This is a little bit trickier because there's more steps. So I've got 2 D-rings, 2 screws, wire, and I've got this little wire cutter snippet thing. The other thing too is you want to make sure it's the right way. I can't tell you how many times I've had to re-put a hanger on because I didn't look and see which the right side was. So first thing I do is just kind of pull a bit of wire, and I just kind of overshoot it about 4 or 5 inches on both sides to make sure it's long enough. Cut it off. You can set that aside. Now, because this is not a perfectly rounded or square piece, you've got a little bit of room for error with these D-rings as far as placement. And it's easier for the person hanging too. They can kind of straighten it up on the wire. It doesn't require so much precision. So just kind of eyeball a good spot here where it looks like they're pretty even. Put these in. You want to make sure too that your screws aren't longer than the canvas that you're using. You don't want the screw popping through the other side. There we go. Okay. So now we just tie your wires on. And I do a special little tie here. It's not just like a shoestring tie. So I put the first wire over, then I go under and through the D-ring, and I pull it, and then I go back through. That gives you, so you've got two wire pieces going through there. It's just a little bit more secure. And then you just kind of wrap it around like that. Now on this side, I like to check and make sure that it does not go over the top like this. You don't want that wire showing. So I make sure I pull it through enough that it's got some slack on it to hang, but it's not too much that it's gonna show on the wall. Pull it. Pull it through here. There we go. Oops. I did something wrong. Let's try that again. Through. This is a little bit tricky sometimes. Here we go. Got it that time. Okay. And then just wrap it around. And make sure it's nice and tight. There you go. And then if you've got some excess, you just cut it off. There you go. And that's all there is to it. Hey everybody, we've got one more thing we want to talk about. So if you're on the internet and you're looking for a new wood burning kit, just wanted to show you a couple of competitors' kits that maybe aren't the best quality. And so we kind of just wanted to warn you to kind of steer clear of these. You can see these kits online, and they're marketed as wood burning kits, but they're really soldering kits, and there's quite a bit of a difference. So if you see, you know, kind of how these ends work, they're really low quality and not well made, and they kind of just throw these things together and try to market them online, and they come with, you know, a bunch of different tips and stuff like that. Just, you know, they're trying to market this as a wood burning kit, but it's really just kind of a cheap soldering tool, and they break so easily. They're so low quality that they just don't last very long. I'm going to show you this one. And I've got another one. You'll see, if you get some of these, they're pretty similar. This is a different one, and this comes with different soldering things. It's got, you know, soldering tips, and it's got soldering wire and stuff like that. So just make sure you're doing your research about who you're buying from, and, you know, Chandler Tool is a really good quality tool. It's, you know, it's a wood burning tool. It's made for wood burning. So just make sure you're doing your research about these, and you know what product you're getting it when you buy it. So thanks everybody for watching. I hope you got some good tips and tricks out of this, and I hope it helps you sort of build your wood burning confidence. And, you know, if you want to continue your wood burning education, you can join me over at Pyrocrafters Plus. It's a membership site that I started for more advanced, in-depth techniques for wood burning, and I have an intro project loaded right in there. So when you sign up, you can go ahead and get started, and I'm using the Chandler tool the whole time in that project from start to finish. So join me over there and let's talk about some more wood burning stuff. Thank you guys for watching.